Using ropes as a bob and weave drill. I see a lot of people using these ropes across boxing rings, stretched between the corners. There are strengths and weaknesses with that. I'm going to show you a couple of drills, and then I'm going to show how I want you to adapt this to make something that I believe is a lot better than what you can see right in front of you. Okay, let's start with the first drill. The most obvious one is just doing bob and weave, stepping forwards as you move forward underneath the rope. Now this can be done with a single rope. It's pretty effective for head movement, but the next step is then to add a punch to it. So as we move forwards like this, we can throw a punch either side of the line like this, there, or we can throw a jab cross. It depends on what you prefer. Moving on, you can then start to do this going backwards, because it's important to use head movement when going backwards. I tend to do this with my hands very, very high. It makes more sense to me going backwards in this way. So as I move backwards here, I will keep my hands nice and high, and I'll try to touch the rope as I go backwards with this hand. So if you can see that clearly there, I'm touching the back of my hand against the rope. This also has the effect of keeping my hands nice and high when I'm moving. For those kids that drop their hands a bit too low, we can move along with the hand touching the rope like that. That's very effective. Now, when we bring a second rope in like this, now these are at 90 degrees, so this isn't ideal, I don't think. But the purpose of doing this kind of drill is when someone is moving like this, when they get to here, they would then change direction, pivot underneath, and come out moving in a different direction. And that's all well and good, but really firstly we need a target on the floor for them to hit, so put a bit of masking tape on. And if they just simply put their foot underneath the cross, or a little bit back from that cross, and then just move underneath, throw the punch like this, it's pretty good. But the problem is that a 90-degree angle is just a bit too much. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you an angle that works that little bit better, because we don't really pivot that much when we're that much of an angle when we're boxing. Our opponent isn't going to allow us. If we move too far, we're going to be moving onto a shot. So what we've got to do is we're going to close this angle down a bit, and then we'll come back. So here we are with a more sensible angle. Something between 30 and 45 degrees is about the angle that you're going to pivot. These lines here need to reflect what you're going to be doing on the floor. If you're moving too far, it's not going to be ideal. Now, bear in mind, obviously, for every acute angle, that's under 90 degrees, there is an obtuse angle, which is the bigger one. So that's bigger than 90 degrees. So if I'm going to go this way and then this way, I don't want to be pivoting this huge angle here. So what I'm going to do is probably put my foot pretty much underneath this cross here, and then take 1 foot length back, so my toe goes where my heel would be. And then I'll throw my shots here, so 1 and 2 like this, and I'm going to lift up my heel, because you can't pivot with your heel on the floor, it's just not possible. And then what I'm going to do is, if I finish on this hand, as you've learned in our previous videos, I'm going to move this way, so I'm going to go 1, 2, and I'm going to pivot here. A pivot with a little bit of a step and a push, then I'm going to go 1, 2 in here. And then again with the heel off the floor, then pivot, push, 1, 2. Now, in order to go back the other way, as you've learned in our previous videos, you'll finish with the lead hand if you're going to move to the lead foot, because that's the way you're turning already. There's no point crossing the center line more times than you need to. It's too dangerous. So we could throw 1, 2, 1 or a 1, 2, 3. So from here, let me go 1, 2, 3, and then a small pivot. Roll underneath there, 1, 2, 1, small pivot, roll under there, like this. So if you are going to be using these, can I suggest that you don't just copy what the people are doing on YouTube, which is putting these things across the center of the ring at a 90-degree angle, because quite frankly, it's not the best angle from which you should be working. Secondly, think, if I'm moving this way, do I finish with this hand? Yes. With this hand? No. If I'm moving this way, do I finish with this hand? Yes. Use the appropriate drill at the appropriate time. Your head movement will be appropriate, it will be better, and you won't be crossing the center line more than you need to. Center line being where your opponent can attack you. So, think a little bit more carefully about the angles you put your ropes at. 30 to 45 degrees is perfect.